Be done for Adam Schiff, because he created 3 years of a massive fallacy that did so much damage to this country and made us miss probably one of the most important stories of our lifetime. We were having hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding.
Greg Gutfeld just shredded Adam Schiff with a roast so brutal it left the halls of Congress echoing with laughter. With savage precision and a smirk you could hear through the screen, Gutfeld tore into Schiff's theatrical grandstanding, fact-free forecasts, and his constant obsession with being the star of every political soap opera. If Schiff thought he could keep spinning tales without consequence, this hilarious takedown proved otherwise. No filter, no mercy, just pure, unrelenting mockery at its finest.
Pop their dentures when Schiff finally gets censored. And so the House condemns the lies of the man with the zombie eyes. Last night, the House voted on party lines to censure Adam Schiff for promoting the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, which was as believable as Brian Kilmeade getting fan mail. 2 for 2. Schiff becomes only the 26th member ever to be censured. But to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12-inch neck.
If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Greg Gutfeld didn't need a teleprompter, a spotlight, or a dramatic score to tee off on Adam Schiff. All he needed was Schiff's face, his voice, and a camera, because the man practically roasted himself every time he opened his mouth. Gutfeld treated Schiff like a recurring character in a political sitcom who somehow thought he was starring in a Shakespearean tragedy. And Greg? He was the guy in the back row, heckling with popcorn and a grin.
And the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for Texas. He unveiled the highly polished and produced political ad right on the heels of getting booted from the House Intel Committee. Coincidence? I think not.
To the curb. And the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning that he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for Texas. He unveiled the highly polished and produced political ad right on the heels of getting booted from the House Intel Committee. A coincidence? I think not. The beauty of roasting Adam Schiff, according to Gutfeld, was that the man never caught on. Schiff moved through Washington like a poorly programmed AI model trained only on Cold War thrillers and CNN transcripts. He looked like he hadn't laughed since 1987 and spoke like he practiced in a mirror for hours, only to deliver lines that still managed to land like a wet sock. Gutfeld couldn't get enough. Schiff was the gift that kept on leaking: classified information, credibility, and common sense.
Hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding. We talked about that virus in green rooms, but we had to do this impeachment story. We had to show these hearings. It's all on him, man. He's got to go. They got to investigate him. They got to hold him accountable. I'm not going to say he should go to prison, but my evil twin will say he should go away to prison for a very long time.
Gutfeld began with the man's eyes, those wide, bugged-out orbs that looked like they were permanently stuck in breaking news mode. He said Adam Schiff's default setting was mild panic, as if he had just realized he left the oven on during a classified briefing. Every time Schiff stepped in front of a microphone, Greg joked, it was like a meerkat trying to deliver a State of the Union. The urgency was there, but no one could figure out why.
Congressman Schiff, how are you?
Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you. Oh, yeah. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Gutfeld.
So, Congressman, I got to ask, how did it feel to have your ass chewed out like that in front of your colleagues?
Oh, well, I will say this, Mr. Gutfeld, it feels...
And the voice, that monotone, slow, almost hypnotic delivery that made every sentence sound like the end of the world was 3 commas away. Gutfeld mocked how Schiff could turn a parking ticket into a national crisis. He said Schiff's speeches weren't persuasive, they were sedatives. The man could be talking about meteors heading toward Earth, and somehow you'd still be scrolling through your phone, waiting for the dramatic part.
And the fact that Schiff hasn't blinked since 1992. And he didn't take the news so well. The disgraced Democrat went on TikTok to complain. Behold.
Hello, I'm Congressman Adam Schiff with some troubling news. Today, Kevin McCarthy removed me from the House Intelligence Committee, all for doing my job, for holding Trump accountable and standing up to the extreme MAGA Republicans.
But what really drove Greg wild was the delusion. Schiff didn't just believe he was right. He believed he was the last honest man in a city of thieves. He carried himself like a whistleblowing prophet, wandering through a sea of corruption, even though he had more leaks than a toddler's water balloon. Gutfeld called it performance art, theatrical, preachy, and always conveniently timed for maximum political theater. He tore into Schiff's greatest hits, starting with a years-long spectacle that was the Russia investigation. Greg said watching Schiff announce he had evidence of collusion was like watching a guy on the boardwalk swear he could levitate if you just gave him 5 more minutes. Schiff teased bombshells with the enthusiasm of a carnival barker, but the tent always collapsed. There were never fireworks, just fizzling sparklers and a broken megaphone. Gutfeld pointed out how Schiff never retracted, never apologized, never even blinked. Instead, he doubled down like a guy who lost his shirt at the poker table but still tried to bluff with an Uno card. Schiff didn't pivot, he dug. Every failed prediction, every baseless claim was followed by a new dramatic warning, a new grave expression, a new developing story that never quite developed.
So Adam Schiff now admits he should have been much more clear about how he unleashed the impeachment circus. Note, when a politician says they should be much more clear, they mean, I wish you hadn't caught me lying to your face.
I should have been much more clear, and I said so the minute it was brought to my attention that I was referring to the fact that when the whistleblower filed the complaint, we had not heard from the whistleblower. We wanted to bring the whistleblower in at that time, but I should have been much more clear about that.
You know, instead of trying to be clear, it might just save time if you just decide.
Greg couldn't help but notice the smugness. Schiff didn't speak to people. He spoke down to them, like a substitute teacher convinced he's changing lives with his syllabus on civics and disappointment. Gutfeld said Schiff had the charisma of a DMV kiosk and the warmth of an IRS audit. He wasn't just humorless, he was allergic to levity. Every joke, every jab, every ounce of irony slid off Schiff like eggs on a Teflon ego. Then came the hearings. Gutfeld described them as Schiff's one-man off-Broadway show, equal parts fantasy, fiction, and farce. He ran the committees like a director, obsessed with close-ups of himself, rearranging facts like stage props and interrupting witnesses like he was auditioning for a courtroom drama. Greg joked that if Schiff ever hosted a game show, the answer would always be Russia, and the prize would be more subpoenas. And the media? Oh, they loved it. They treated Schiff like a cross between James Bond and Gandalf. Every time he spoke, headlines followed like ducklings, repeating the same tired lines in new dramatic fonts. Gutfeld called it the Schiff echo chamber, where facts didn't matter. Only the mood music did. And Schiff soaked it up. He wasn't just a congressman. He was a performance piece in a suit 2 sizes too serious.
Bad when the Republicans took over, but it's far worse than we expected.
Cue the violins, people. But can he promise you this?
But I can promise you this is not the end of my fight for our democracy. This is just the beginning. Please join us and contribute today. Thank you.
Here's my question. How much will it cost for you not to run?
Greg couldn't resist mocking Schiff's relationship with the truth, or lack thereof. He called him the master of the almost fact, the nearly confirmed, the on the verge of being credible statement. Schiff didn't tell lies, Gutfeld said. He hosted them like Airbnb guests that never left. And when they inevitably got debunked, Schiff would shrug, pivot, and deliver another solemn monologue about democracy being on the line. He tore into the irony of a man so obsessed with disinformation while dishing it out like Halloween candy. Gutfeld painted Schiff as the guy warning you about con artists while wearing a trench coat full of snake oil, the man who promised transparency while operating like a magician with a fog machine. It wasn't integrity. It was narrative management disguised as patriotism. And then came the book deals. Of course there were book deals. Gutfeld mocked how Schiff wrote his memoirs like he had just completed a mission in enemy territory, not a 3-year cable news loop. The title might as well have been How I Saved Democracy, without really trying. He called it fanfiction with footnotes, a self-congratulatory novel where the hero never did anything wrong, and every villain wore a red tie.
Champions transparency, all the while saying the whistleblower might not testify because it's a safety concern, he maintains, because we all know CIA agents can't protect themselves against non-existent threats, or that our government can't protect him from your Aunt Sally.
Our primary interest right now is making sure that that person is protected. Indeed, now there's more than one whistleblower that they are protected. And given that we already have the call record, we don't need the whistleblower who wasn't on the call to tell us what took place during the call. We have the best evidence.
Greg even went after Schiff's style because it's Gutfeld, and no detail is safe. The suits looked like they were picked out of a bargain bin labeled nervous accountants. The ties screamed high school debate team runner-up. Schiff didn't just look out of place. He looked like he'd been shrink-wrapped and shipped from the Bureau of Redundancy Bureau. Gutfeld said he dressed like someone trying to blend in with the curtains at a town hall meeting. And the face. Oh, the face. Greg had a field day with how Schiff's expression never quite matched the moment. He said Schiff had one setting, startled owl in a courtroom. No matter the topic, war, taxes, birthday cake, he always looked like someone just showed him a live ferret. The man's default emotion was mild panic with a hint of self-righteousness. But what truly fascinated Gutfeld was how Schiff still kept going. After years of blunders, misfires, and exaggerated predictions, he hadn't slowed down. If anything, he'd doubled the theatrics. Now he was writing op-eds about saving democracy, giving speeches about protecting institutions, all while refusing to acknowledge he'd ever bent a fact, missed a mark, or chased a phantom.
People on the planet, and I guess he makes it work, Tyrus. But
does he?
But isn't it? I mean, I don't want to get mad about this because he's such a joke. But the fact that he isn't going to be really get any punishment.
Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you. Oh, yeah. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Gutfeld.
Greg called it the Schiff cycle. Accuse, dramatize, fade out, repeat. A machine of outrage powered by headlines, never needing to plug into reality. Schiff didn't need to be right. He just needed to be loud, dramatic, and vaguely apocalyptic. He wasn't a politician anymore. He was a doomsday narrator, warning of storms he helped create. Gutfeld wrapped the roast by painting a picture of Schiff's dream scenario, alone on a dimly lit stage, reading declassified documents to a silent crowd, convinced that every page turn was saving a nation. To Greg, Schiff wasn't just a misguided politician. He was a delusional performer, auditioning for a role no one cast him in, delivering lines no one asked for in a play that ended 2 acts ago. And the best part? Schiff thought it was working. That was the real comedy. The man truly believed he was the conscience of Congress, the last wall against tyranny, the soul of the Republic. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld stood there with a grin, a mic, and a punchline, watching the drama unfold like live-action satire, begging for
Adam, not even Mitt Romney could help him. Everyone knew there weren't enough votes to convict. Even the media, their only way out of this hell, pretending that Mitt was a hero. Poor Adam. He really thought he had him. Well, we've talked about who won the impeachment trial. Now let's talk about who didn't. As I've said before, don't think the Dems aren't going to stop trying to find dirt on Trump. They'll look anywhere. Hell, they'll go to a local high school if they thought they'd find the...
And Greg knew, with every Schiff headline, every dramatic pause, every leaked memo and thunderous warning, the script just kept writing itself. The roast was far from over. The sequel was already in production. So, naturally, Gutfeld wasn't about to let Schiff sail off into the sunset of irrelevance without another round of jabs. Because just when you thought Schiff had exhausted his bag of melodrama, he always found a way to squeeze out one more dramatic headline, one more somber press conference, one more episode of America is in danger because I say so. Greg dove into Schiff's posturing like a kid ripping into wrapping paper. He said Schiff didn't actually do politics, he did melodrama. Every issue became a crisis. Every debate turned into a funeral dirge. Schiff was the kind of guy who could take a zoning issue and declare it a constitutional emergency. The fire alarm never stopped ringing, because Schiff kept pulling the handle while winking at the cameras. And the best part, according to Gutfeld, Schiff talked like a man who thought he was narrating a Ken Burns documentary about himself. He wasn't just talking to constituents, he was monologuing to history. Greg joked that Schiff probably had a voiceover guy following him around to make his coffee orders sound more patriotic. The man's ego had its own zip code. Then Greg tackled Schiff's favorite new trick, playing the victim. After years of running the media circuit like a DJ on a nostalgia tour, Schiff suddenly began acting like he was being unfairly targeted for being a truth teller. Greg laughed at the idea that a guy who spent years on national television spinning theories like a cable news wizard was now shocked anyone would.
Full details about the conditionality of either the military aid or that meeting with the Ukraine president. It may not be necessary to take steps that might reveal the whistleblower's identity to do that.
Not necessary, so much for transparency. But like everything, the Dems haven't thought this through. So not only are you going to impeach Trump, you're going to do it in secret, in the dark, reversing an election based on hearsay from some anonymous guy you will never, ever see who has ties to Democrats.
The conditionality of either the military aid or that meeting with the Ukrainian president. It may not have been necessary to take steps that might reveal the whistleblower's identity to get to the truth. Not necessary so much for transparency, but like everything else, the Democrats hadn't thought it through. So not only were they going to impeach Trump, they were going to do it in secret, in the dark, reversing an election based on hearsay from some anonymous guy you would never ever see who just happened to have ties to Democrats. Victimhood, Greg said, was Schiff's latest costume, and it came with its own set of pearl-clutching talking points. Schiff hadn't been silenced. He'd just been fact-checked. And in Gutfeld's world, there's a big difference. Greg likened Schiff's endless forecasts of doom to a guy yelling shark in a swimming pool. After the fifth false alarm, people don't jump, they roll their eyes and change the channel. But not Schiff. He kept going, convinced that his next dramatic reading of a memo would finally wake up the masses. Greg closed out by saying that Schiff wasn't just out of touch, he was out of material. The drama had worn thin. The expressions no longer inspired fear, just fatigue. The man who once claimed to be the last line of defense against tyranny had become the guy muttering to himself at political karaoke night, still hoping someone would hand him a mic and take him seriously. But Gutfeld knew better. Schiff would be back. He always was. And when he returned, with the next leak, the next gasp, the next desperate monologue, Greg would be waiting. Sharp, sarcastic, and already 2 punchlines ahead.